Greetings, everyone. Rev.Hawksblood here, calling from the big island of Hawaii. All right, this is going to be the most important show you ever heard. If you can listen to it, that'd be great. But probably your ego will kick in and you won't try to listen to all of it, or something might bother you and you'll run away. I'm going to lay the truth out from beginning to end. And the two words we're going to be mainly using is God and gods. What man perceives as God or gods. All right, let's start in the beginning of time, when God created a world, a universe, and things like that. How did Moses know? What was he talking about when he said it? Who told him? All right, who saw it? Who was around to see how many days it took God to create the world? All right, it's all stories. The Bible stories, all the stories about the Anunnaki, the Sumerian tablets, they're all incredible stories. The Rancher. All right, we're going to go into a lot of things. So sit down and grab onto your chair and hold on tight. Now, we're going to go in different religions and their perception of God. Now, realize Christianity was created basically from an extension of Moses' teachings, the Ten Commandments. When Jesus came here, he was not like Moses in any way. He didn't teach what Moses taught, even though there's a phrase in the Bible where it says, Jesus said that he said it would be wise to do what Moses said, because it's better to die without any sin than go into heaven. But that was a lie. Jesus never said that. All right. Second of all, and I'm going to tell you straight out, this is what I'm going to give you, the ultimate truth from my realization from all my past lives to the present, including being with Jesus when he was alive. You can challenge anything I say to yourself, to the Bible, to any other book on this planet, any alien, any creature, anything else you want to. But it's going to go down like this. When Jesus came here, he was born, immaculate conception or not, doesn't matter. He had brothers. His brothers became disciples. I'm going to go back and forth, so try to follow me. My mind is kind of in a circle, brings everything together. So, all right, when Jesus was born, he was a Jew, all right, but he disappeared for months and months and months and months. And what happened? It turned into a long time. And when he came back, he was different. He was no longer a Jewish person. I mean, in a belief system. His whole reality changed, all right? He also came back with something called psychic abilities, which was 32. There's 32 psychic abilities that existed in Atlantis and were taken away after Atlantis was destroyed. We'll go back to that. But he was the only one in history that had those abilities. 100% each one, not 2%, 5%, 10%. All right, what he did, he never used all of them. He could have. He could have been godlike if he wanted to on this planet, but he didn't. He chose to be a humble person. He never, ever said he was God. He never said, I am God. All right? Never. Never in the Bible did he say it. Never where in reality did he say it. He was a man with the abilities that nobody else had. And that's because he went through the word which everybody's trying to use for themselves called ascension. Teaching ascension. All right? I'll go into that later too. But he was the only one that I know since Atlantis went down that has ever gone through ascension. People go, I went to ascension. I went to ascension. I'm going to teach ascension. Really? Do you understand what it means? How close to God did you ever get? Do you understand God, which most people will not and do not have a clue, which I'm going to describe as we move along. All right, I'm going to go back and forth. Please follow me. All right, when Jesus started teaching, what was he teaching? Forgiveness, compassion, love. Is that what you believe he was teaching? How do you teach love? How's anybody teach love? You can't. You can only show it. Words don't mean you love somebody. I love you. And how many people really mean it when they say it? Everybody says they love a tree. I love you. I love you. I love you. How much do they know? How much is it a feeling to that person? So if somebody tells their husband or wife, I love you every single day, every night, how much do they really love them? How much do they know about that love? Think about it. And these are supposed to be people that understand the word love. Love is an abused word on this planet. I'm going to say you straight out again. Love is only meaning the understanding of God. There's no other definition for it. And if you don't understand God, you don't understand what love is. It's not sex. It's not sexual pleasure. It's not being happy and fun-loving person. That's not what love is. Being happy is the emotional body. There's 5 emotions, 5 senses to this body: sense, smell, taste, feelings. All right, those things are within the mind. It's not within soul. And you are a soul in this body, and that soul leaves this body. It leaves those feelings, emotions, and all those things we dwell on as important here. All right, let's go back to God. And God created this world. He created multiple worlds, multiple universes, multiple dimensions. Basically, there's 12. In each realm, which is like the physical realm, there's 3 dimensions. And they hear, well, I'm 6-dimensional, 8-dimensional. No, there's 3 dimensions. Each dimension here in the physical reality has 3 different realms within that. The same as in the astral plane. There's 3 dimensions there, and each one has 3 different realities within that. So it's not like you just go to the astral plane. All right, and I'm going to relate that to why Jesus said, in my Father's mansion there's many rooms. All right, he wasn't talking about a house with the kitchen, bathroom, and bedroom. And he wasn't talking about the good. Everybody's good, and everybody can go in a room, pick the room they want, pick what they want for a shower, bathtub, swimming pool. No, it wasn't like that either. All right, Jesus didn't teach any of that. Jesus didn't teach love, he showed it. And what was screwed up every which way for the longest time, his love for Mary Magdalene. All right, now people don't want to accept that, especially Christian religions, and the ones that truly should understand that. I'm going to try to go to a religion, but this one I'm going to hit first. When Jesus was with his disciples, he had 12 disciples. Mary Magdalene became one of his disciples, along with his 12 men disciples. All right. Now, she was the one responsible for teaching his disciples after everybody helped kill Jesus. Everybody turned against Jesus, including his own disciples. When it came to putting him on a cross, his people turned against him. Now, so people think they understand love. Did those people learn anything about love in that time frame? Now, Jesus had a daughter, was married to Mary Magdalene and had a daughter. Now, Jesus never saw his daughter in a physical body. All right, when he came back, he did. But that's a different story. And I'm not going to go into it because most people don't even believe he got married, was close to Mary Magdalene, even though it was his wife. All right, when Jesus was crucified, I say killed, slaughtered, tortured, and all those words together, by people that would kill and beat a person of compassion. So how many people understood the word love or even compassion? The only thing they understood was food, power, and money. They didn't understand anything about love. So when Jesus had Mary next to him, sure, the men were jealous. Well, after Jesus was killed, and they kind of lost faith of everything because now he's dead. They didn't believe anything he said. What was he teaching? Do you have a clue? It's not in the Bible. What was he teaching his disciples that they would turn against him after he died? Nothing they could understand. We have life after death. How could they understand that? Well, he died, but they all lost faith. Mary Magdalene was the one that brought them together and finished teaching them. How could she teach them something she didn't know? That's the first ignorant lie in the Bible, that she had to have the abilities to teach them what they had to learn. You can't teach somebody how to fly a plane if you don't know how to fly a plane. How do you teach somebody to heal somebody if you don't know how to? How do you raise the dead if you don't know how to? So the whole concept of Mary Magdalene was sure, it was changed. They put all these horrible stories together to make Mary Magdalene the sleazy person that she was supposed to be in that time frame. But it was rewritten 100 years later when they made her the sleazy whore by a priest that was jealous. All right, but then over the past, I don't know how many years ago when they actually admitted that Mary Magdalene wasn't this whore that they framed her out to be. They took 4 stories to make Mary Magdalene All right. She was a goddess in that time frame. Just so you know, I was her best friend. I was a female in that lifetime. You don't have to believe any of that. You would believe John, Peter, Paul, anybody else that said something, had a vision. Paul had a vision of being with Jesus, and everybody believed it. So, and then he had an evangelist follow him who was one of the four: Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John. Luke and John, Matthew was a disciple. Matthew, Luke, and John. All right, two of them were evangelists. Look at what evangelist is. They follow people. Oh, sorry, Matthew, Mark, and Luke. Mark and Luke. Those two people were the evangelists. One followed Peter, and the other one followed Paul. All right, that's facts, whether you want to believe it or not. It's in the Bible if you work hard to find it. Now, when Jesus came back, who was the first person to find him? Mary Magdalene. And Mary, the mother of Jesus, was always in back of Mary Magdalene. She wasn't powerful. She wasn't anything except the mother of Jesus. Whether she was Immaculate Conception, she had children, she had other children and all that, but Jesus was supposed to be the Immaculate Conception. Whether it's real or not, it doesn't matter. It doesn't change who Jesus was. He never said he was anything other than a man. And he never took credit for anything he did. Not like every healer, every psychic out there. I'm the best psychic. I'm the best healer. Well, I'm the top mystic in the world. People are saying that right now. Some people say they're Jesus. Some people say they're God. There's 9 people on this planet that actually believe that Jesus is. One person that actually believes he's God. Even in the UFO world, one of the most famous speakers came out when he first came out and said he was God. Well, ego is the biggest thing to fight in this planet. So when Jesus came back, everybody didn't see him because they didn't learn what Jesus was teaching them. And Mary Magdalene had to finish teaching them, and then they were able to see Jesus. People don't understand. It's in the Bible. If you just read it with not the programmed ideas of what's it supposed to mean, what this is and what that is. Let yourself feel the vibration of what's happening. How they slaughtered a man of compassion. It's like if a person came down the street in a white robe, giving gold bricks to everybody. Would anybody want to kill him? No. But if he's telling you we're following Satan, oh, kill that guy. He's evil. We have a twisted perception. I'm going to go into that. I'm only talking about Jesus, and he wasn't a God. All right. When he arose and he was there, he wasn't physically a solid being. You could touch dimensional beings. He stood there. I mean, he said, don't touch me, really. I mean, Thomas had to touch his cut in his hand to see if it was really him in the first place. And he allowed him because it was his image, his idea, his desire to feel it, to know it. And it would be the only way he would truly understand it. But let's go further. Jesus had to die. It wasn't like he couldn't die and just was put on a cross, given medicine, taken somewhere else. All the stories people believe are twisted, ignorant people. If he didn't die, he would have never proved what he was trying to teach them. If he didn't die, how could he prove that you come back? They didn't even believe anything after he died until he did. So, and then even when Jesus rose the dead, they didn't become solid bodies and start walking around and live happily ever after. They watched these beings go into heaven. And heaven's only the first step. We'll go into that. Now, you can believe whatever you want about the Bible. This story, since time frame, time links, and everything else, the story of Adam and Eve's a lie. Moses was the most evil black magician on this planet. I don't know. You could believe that he was the greatest person. He was responsible for killing more children than anyone. Think about it. What he did infused killing with what he was trying to prove and preach and be. All right. When he took his people, finally gets them out of his out of the prison, and starts marching them around the desert for how many? 4 generations? Do you know what that meant? They all died. All the people he brought out of there died. Do you understand that? I don't think so. Their children, they all had children. Their children were brought to the supposedly promised land. What is a promised land? Who promised it to them? See, it's words, and it's people's ego that created scenarios that people believe. Did God come down, stamp on the ground, and say, hey, listen to me, ever? Did he try did it try to make you believe anything? Ever. Wasn't allowed into the promised land. Why? I'm not going to go into it. Figure it out. Why wasn't he allowed into the promised land? Well, I'll give you a clue. When Moses came up the mountain, he broke his tablets because he was mad. And then he had about, how many? 4,000 people killed because he called them demons. All right. So when he brings these people to the promised land, these new children growing up to the promised land, and there was people there. People were living in the promised land. So what did they do? They slaughtered them all. Took a while, but they killed them all. Does that sound like a spiritual step? What part of the Ten Commandments do they not understand? Jesus knew the Ten Commandments were in the Ark of the Covenant. It was what made the Ark of the Covenant powerful. Even when he went into the temple, something you might not know, I don't think the Bible talks about it, the Ark of the Covenant was in the temple with these holy roller priests. Jesus was mad about that. He said, these people don't believe it. He didn't just get mad because they were selling things there. That's the way they lived. They always lived that way. They still live that way. I mean, you can't condemn something when you know it's their way of life. So he got mad because the Ark of the Covenant was in there. But here's the thing. He stayed to try to teach his people. And they didn't listen. They didn't understand the Ten Commandments. You can't move forward if you can't understand 10 simple laws. None of them are harmful to this world today. None of them. None of them will hurt people today. Moses, the great mystic, powerful Moses, created 613 laws. What you can eat, what you can't eat, what you can wear, what you can't wear, what you can do, what you can do, what you can't do. He created lots of laws. Read them. He was pathetic. He was so against nudity at every level as well. So here's a person, killed all these people already, killed more people, had people march him, and then he wasn't allowed in the promised land. Why is that? We don't hear much of the story after that, do we? Because people only follow what mankind wants people to believe. So who wrote the stories after Moses? Who actually wrote what Moses was doing and thinking? Moses. He wrote a third of the Bible. Now, let's skip one God. The God Moses prayed to. That name of that God was Jehovah. All right? Jehovah was the jealous God. All right? Understand what jealous means. I hope you do. To think he's this loving, compassionate God. If he was a loving, compassionate God, don't you think he would forgive Moses? What kind of morons are you people? You accept stupid, ignorant ideas that have no reality to a real reality. If they couldn't forgive Moses, who did all these things, why would they forgive you if you abuse your child, or you go out and cheat on your wife, and all these little things that, oh, I asked for forgiveness and I'm forgiven? Really? Well, I'm going to go back to that later, but I will say this. Revelation was written by John. John wrote in Revelations, sins that cannot be forgiven. Every single person out there should read it. Revelations is only a couple pages. You could read it in a couple hours, but read it slowly and try to picture what's being said and what's happening about the end times and all those things, about false prophets. Read that. John wrote it. One of Jesus's disciples, one of the most important people of his followers, did that. So you should read it if you're a Christian. And there's 2.5 billion people on this planet that are Christians. Now, let's take that a bit further. All right. Let's go into another religion, Muslim religion. All right. We as a general don't know much about Muslim religion. How many people read the Quran? How many people study the Quran? How many people study the religion, how people live in that religion? Sure, there's good and bad people, what we call good and bad people in every religion. How many people say in God's name a curse? How many? 90% of the people on this planet. And if you read Revelations, you might suddenly realize something's wrong. Like you might not be forgiven for that. If you knew the most spiritual being was standing right next to you and you called him an asshole or some other perverted, twisted F word or any other word, what do you think would happen? Well, I'm going to forgive you. It's just, no, it's the Ten Commandments. Read the Ten Commandments. They're not that complicated. And the one that people seem to forget is thou shalt not kill. Thou shalt not commit adultery. All those little things. Killing. If you're in another country and kill people, you do it. Did God tell you to do that? God said, do not kill. The killing aspect was created by aliens that programmed. We'll go back and forth. I'm trying to tell you this. How the human race was programmed about killing, sacrifice. All right. Now, Muhammad, who created basically the teachings of Muslim, when he wrote 32 phrases written about how you have to be, he claims and says he was working with Gabriel. Now, the first time he met him, he didn't know who it was. The second time, his brother told him it was Gabriel. How did his brother know who Gabriel was? How do you know somebody is an angel? How do you know what kind of an angel they are? At that time, who knew Gabriel was one of the high angels that fell? All right? We're talking about fallen angels, including Lucifer. Lucifer was the bringer of light. Lucifer was the bringer of light. Lucifer was the bringer of light. Understand that. Satan was written in the Bible thousands of times about destruction, evil, control, and power, taking over, and all that. Lucifer was not the one that came down here to take over mankind and control it. Lucifer had his own problems. His ego made him think he's God in his own way, so he's on the astral plane with two other gods, Jehovah and Satnam. And they watch over every soul that goes past the astral plane. And you just don't go past it. We'll go into that later. Now, Muhammad came out with this thing. If you want to read them, it's online. You can pull up the Quran and you can go through it. Their sexual ideas are so perverted. God has nothing to do with sex. God is not male or female. God doesn't talk about sex. It's for recreation here in this realm, in this reality, which is the lowest reality there is. That's why animals do it. In the astral plane, you don't have to produce. You can't produce children in the astral plane. You don't have sex to produce a child. All right? The concept that man perceives, oh, you're going to sit there with your family? What are you going to do sitting at a table with your family if that's what you believe? How long would you want to do it? For infinity? Well, I'm going to stare at my mother and my father for the rest of my life. But I had two mothers. Oh, I had three fathers. Oh, I didn't have no family. I was in an orphanage. What do you expect to find when you get to heaven if you believe that your family is there? Your family that threw you out? People are ignorant. They want to believe in beautiful things. And I just wrote a story, a couple things online, to a person who wrote a book, how he talks to God. And I said, really? God's all about love and compassion? Really? Now, let's talk about one God, the programmed God that most people believe in. Whatever religion it is, God loves you. God loves you. God loves you. Why? What did you do to deserve God's love? What are you doing to deserve God's love? Anything? Oh, well, I donate a couple dollars. Look at all the billionaires and trillionaires. Now, Jesus said this many times in life and in the Bible. It's easier for a camel to go through an eye of a needle than a rich person to get into heaven. He showed a parable about that. But basically, it's as real as it gets. If you have money, lots of money that you're never going to use in this lifetime, and even if you gave all your family some money, you're still going to have tons of money. Now, it's just laying there that should be in the business, in life, in reality. Even if you don't want to buy a certain thing, you could put homes up, you could put centers up, you could do a lot of things with that money that would make this world a better place. But men with money, people with money, ego grows. Money and power changes your ego. 99% of the time, no matter who you are. Oh, I donated $10 million. But if you got $2 trillion, does that touch it at all? All right. Now, we have this idea that we have, famous people that we allow to make our laws, or people that become president, vice president, people in Congress. All right. Why is that? these people are so old, they don't know anything about religion. They don't know anything about truth. They don't know anything about aliens. And they're telling you that you can't go outside. They don't know nothing about the virus. And I'm not going to get into that because my show would be cut off this second. The thing that makes everybody lose their show. What's actually part of the problem we have right now. I'm not going to go into it. But here's the thing. The Muslim religion, if you listen to the laws they pass, and they just passed these within the past couple of years, they're allowed to beat their wives if they don't have sex. They could beat their wives if they don't take a shower. Really? What about a man? In the Jewish religion, they can't get married if the girl's not a virgin. Do you think that's fair? Is a man ever a virgin? Think about it. And guess who has to find out if it? And this is in the Catholic Hasidic. Okay, so mind me, I'm a little bit out there. In the Hasidic Jewish religion, the deepest hardcore Jewish people, the rabbi has to find out if she's a virgin before they can get married. All right, I think that's the most sickest thing, but well, she has to be a virgin. All right. Now, in the Catholic religion, all Jesus's followers, his main followers, were married. And then when he told them to leave their families, does that sound like a compassionate person? He didn't say bring your family. He didn't say anything like that or anything. What do you think was going on? Do people follow the details of any story? No, they don't. They pick out what sounds good, what sounds right, what sounds happy, and they make it their reality. All right. Now, Muhammad went out into the world preaching and becoming this great person they followed. But to believe they can go to heaven and have sex 7 days straight with virgins and all, how can a person relate sex to God? How can you relate killing to God? All the things man relates to have nothing to do with the real God. Now, I'm going to talk about gods because that's the main part of the talk. All right. So that's only 2 religions. There's 2,000 religions on this planet. And I'll tell you, there's only 2 that I know that have any truth, will help you understand God. Christianity won't. It sure won't. Muslim religion will not. Buddhism will have its thing. I have somebody, I can't talk to them. All right. Let's go deeper. Let's go back to the beginning when man was brought here. Who brought man here? Science will tell you we evolved here. We didn't evolve. We never evolved from a frog. You can believe that. You can have experience and think you're a frog. You can think you're a lot of things. Does that make it real? Now, how many races originally were on this planet? I'm not talking about the Enochs and the different realities that we have. I'm talking about human beings that look like us, that are like us now, 2 hands, 2 eyes, 2 feet. All right. There were 9 races. And first off, we all didn't come from one race. You would say something would mutate from black to white to yellow. How about blue? How about green? How about purple? Well, there were 9 races and there were 9 different colors here. But here's the thing, 5 races left. Those 5 races, one of each one of those races became a god. Krishna, Green Tara. I mean, they became a god in different realities. I would say deity for most people because that's what, there wasn't a word God in the beginning of time. When man created the word God, it was more to the present, not the past. Going back to Egyptian times, going back to the Mayan times, the Aztecs, it wasn't God. All right. And if they used the word, whatever related to that was plural, because there was never one God in those days. Right? Let's go to the beginning now. We have 9 races on this planet, and it was called Atlantis. And there was a word that they went through, which we try to use now, which is perverted and twisted to use it today, called ascension. Some of those beings ascended, but they went through ascension. When they went through ascension, like I said, one of each went through ascension, meaning they got the abilities of the psychic world. which is 32 of them. But Green Tara, Shiva, Durga, all these deities that came out of it. In Hinduism, which was the first religion on this planet after people worshiping animals, there were multiple gods. Because we use that word rather than deities. But in those, then when you go into the Mayans, I mean, it changed again. The gods they worshiped were aliens. And how do I know? You can prove it to yourself. What was the Mayans and the people's most important things, like the Mayan calendar? Who created the Mayan calendar? Who went through space? Who knew about how these planets could travel the universe, come back, and all that at that time frame? Aliens could. They were always thousands of years more advanced than us. Technically, they never became spiritual because they never helped mankind move forward. Now, all right, when Atlantis was going through this beautiful time, which was called, okay, I guess you could actually say it was the time of peace and love, compassion. What, like the story of Adam and Eve when they were in this beautiful place, existed. They didn't have to cheat, steal, eat animals, or kill anybody. The alien races that came here wanted to use them, and they realized they couldn't. So they had to destroy Atlantis. Not for gold. Aliens could make gold, you ignorant people. We can make gold right now. Technology today, we can actually make gold, but it takes more money to make it than we get out of making it. But in alien reality, they could make it. Oh, well, their universe was deteriorating and had to get gold. Has nothing to do with God. Nothing. Nothing any alien race has to do with us or talk to us about or teach us has anything to do with anything spiritual. And until mankind learns that, which they might not, aliens are becoming aggressive and more so at every level. I go out every morning, I see 3 to 10 ships. I see a light ship blinking at me all the time. I'm waiting for them to say something. But besides that, there's a lot of things happening now. Aliens going to make themselves known soon. And now, I'm going to throw this in, and it has nothing to do with God. When a person gets abducted, taken on a ship, all right, they get reprogrammed. And that was due to our president. All the 2 presidents, Eisenhower, and I mean, in those time frames, because they wanted weapons, and they did a trade. You can take 10,000 people, but we have to have this and that. And they started trading. They had a gray, which was shot down, and kept them alive for years. They had to kill him. And when they did, read Phil Snyder's story. All right, there's no good aliens. Oh, there's good and bad people. No, they're not. I hope I have enough time to put everything together for you. We are not good and bad people. We're bad people. This is hell. You know why? Because no matter what you tell yourself, no matter what you believe, there's children being abused, being raped, being sold, starving, homeless, every single day. Listen to the number. If you think you're beautiful, happy, oh, I could just sit back and say, oh, it's all beautiful. 30,000, rough number, it's like 28, but 1,000 children under 5 die every single day. If you could sit back and smile and say, I got a TV dinner, I got a steak dinner, I got a lobster dinner, I could jump in the jacuzzi later and I could watch TV, get out a bottle of wine, and sit there and smile like a person that wrote Conversation with God, really, and tell us everything's beautiful? Now, God loves everybody. What God's that? Did God love Moses to forgive him? Did God love Moses to protect the people that Moses had killed when Moses came off the mountain? When he walked around in the desert, God knew what he was doing, but Moses didn't. The promised land was never on planet Earth. People are ignorant to that too. Well, this is the promised land. Really? Planet Earth is promised to who? Zombies? Scavengers? Disease-ridden people? What is the promised land? Well, you would assume it would be a beautiful place where loving people live. And that only exists past the astral plane. And we'll go into that. But now, okay, we have this God supposed to love everybody, be compassionate, and forgives everybody. Who says? Well, that's what Jesus said. Prove it. Prove that's what Jesus said. Somebody wrote it in the Bible. I was at Jesus. He never said that. People that did something wrong, he told them, go out and sin no more. Don't come back. Now that you know God's real, there's no reason to sin. But guess what? People didn't hear that. Well, I can come back and get forgiven next time. Or I can say I'm sorry. Or I can ask a psychic healer to heal me. I could ask a psychic to forgive me. Or I could just raise my vibration and I'm healed. I'm healed of all the crimes I did in my life and my past lives. Most people have no clue about past lives. And you should, because you're learning very little every lifetime. Usually you move forward, unless you kill a few people, even one person. All right. Instant karma, John wrote about it. He was right. Killing somebody, you got instant karma. You'll never get rid of that in this lifetime. There's a lot of things that happen. I can go into stories, but I don't have that much time to do all the stories that I need to put into this. I want to go back to gods, beginning gods. Let's go back to Atlantis. They were working with a real God. But they were killed. The ones that left became deities, like Shiva, Green Tara, Durga, Kali, and all those kind of names. And they lasted for a pretty long time. But the problem was sex. The symbols, everything relates to a phallic symbol, especially for Shiva. The stories of Shiva, he cuts his penis off because he was mad at they killed his daughter and he got mad at the city and then he destroyed all the people. But it's all about sex. Hinduism, there's a lot about stimulating sexual energy. Doesn't bring you to God. It brings you to a fantasy here because your mind and body is vibrating and that makes you God-like? Really? I deal with people like that and it's so hard. Oh, raise your kundalini and you'll be spiritual. That's like the Tower of Babel. He thought he could create a tower so high and go up into heaven. We have twisted, programmed ideas of what we believe God is. So let's go back to these Hindu people that worship in these deities. They followed them. Each one had different deities they followed and listened to. Work with the deities were fighting with each other as well. At the same time, the angels in heaven were fighting. See, when you hear the word fallen angel, where'd they fall from? They fell from the tree? No, they fell from the higher worlds, which are places soul can go to when it purifies itself of karma and understands God. The first step to any movement forward is not ascension. It's self-realization. Understanding where you are pertaining to God. You're not becoming God. You're not one with God. Your ego, I'm one with God. Can you do one miracle? Can you do anything? How can you say that? How could you put yourself next to something that high and powerful and loving, compassion, and hateful, and every other word along with it? And here's the thing. Oh, no, God has to love everybody. Why? Because somebody told you that. Somebody in the Bible who created the word hell rather than saying we're living in hell and have to get out of it. No, you want some alien race to come down here and help. You want some person to come from a psychic world and come out and say, hey, look, you're all healed. I mean, we want things. Most people want these ridiculous ideas to happen and make their reality change. People that talk to dead people, who are they talking to? Energy beings. Because when you die, this body dies, soul steps out of it. Some souls get stuck here because they don't deserve to go to a higher place than here. And they walk around for a long time. Sure, people would went to Ascension could make those people go into the higher realm. I mean, there was a show on TV where she would send all the people up into the light. Send them into the light doesn't send them into heaven, just so you know. All right. There's so many things that I'm going to do a workshop because everybody out there teaching ascension, teaching you love, teaching you compassion, teaching you anything, what aliens are going to teach us have nothing to do with a real God. My life is here. I had this done a long time. I don't know if you can see it. It's How to See God. My first book was How to See God. All right. I had my death experiences. I had my out-of-body experiences. I met with aliens. I met with... Never say I'm spiritual. Spiritual, you won't be here. If you're spiritual, you won't hang around with mass murderers, killers, rapists, drug addicts. Why? Because you didn't die, didn't leave the body, didn't go into a higher place to see what God created for those souls that are ready. When Jesus said, in my Father's mansion, there's many rooms, but he didn't say it that way. But he had to say it to people that were kind of brain dead, farmers and fishermen. They didn't know words, ascension and God. God wasn't a real word. So the only thing they could relate to, why he says my Father, is because you could relate to your father. But you can't, nobody today can relate to a God or loving, compassionate being. No, that's not God. God allows a tsunami to wipe out a city, a country. God allows a thing to take over half of the planet and destroy it. God's not this loving, compassionate person that everybody wants it to be. It's not a he or a she. I mean, when women's right came in, oh, God's a she. No, it's not. God doesn't have genitalia. Soul in the higher world, soul in itself, in the soul plane where it dwells when it finally reaches its highest level, isn't male or female. You can portray your image as that, but you're not sexual. Those feelings and emotions are gone. You radiate light and sound and vibration. All right, that's it. You can create your realities in the higher realm when you get there. But nobody's allowed to go there until God allows it. So ascension is only for souls that God allows to go through it. And people go, I went through ascension. Why? Do you know what ascension is? The Emerald Tablets talk about it. And they give you ideas and the techniques to sort of try to go through it. But nobody did. When Jesus said there'll be many greater than he, nobody stepped up to the plate and batted anything out there that was capable of being that. And it's sad. I mean, I'm a speaker. I'm not a spiritual being. I wish I was. But I couldn't force people. Jesus couldn't. Jesus himself was a compassionate, loving being. If you ever stared into his eyes, which I can't imagine anybody that ever looked at him was able to do something bad after that. I mean, he didn't have blue eyes. He wasn't this, what we perceive, pure white being. But he was an incredible being with incredible energy, and the light rose and shined through his eyes. Children could see it. They ran to him. Wherever he went, people just were drawn to him. If you have the light within you, not God, if you have the light coming down into this reality through you, people will see it. It's a natural thing. Bad and good will be drawn to it. Just like a bug is drawn to a light, a mosquito, a moth. They'll bang right into the light and die. But now, let's go further into gods. When the Aztecs and Mayans suddenly didn't want to work with deities, they were working with aliens. Now, picture this. All through history, anything with power was considered a god. A magician in the older days, cowboy days, even back to the colonial days, all those kind of time frames, if you were a magician, you were considered usually evil because now you're controlling energy, which they believed. And there was not too many souls that really could do that. All right. So when we talk about going back to how the Mayans and Aztecs got their teachings, these alien races, sure, they saw ships. There were ships here in the Bible time as well. There was always ships around this planet. They're thousands of years more time evolved than us, but they're not more spiritual. Their feelings and emotions are gone. I'm not going to go into all that. I don't want to make this an alien story because aliens are not going to help us. If they ever get the courage and the wisdom and the knowledge and all those words to help save the planet. Like if a meteorite's ready to crash and blow up the planet and they stop it, we'll see. But the reptilians wouldn't do it. The Greys won't do it. The Mantis won't do it. The tall whites won't do it. Now, here's a word, and Billy Myers was really keen in touch with this word, the Pleiadians. Okay, supposedly from the galaxy of the Pleiades. All right, the Pleiadian people, he called them Pleiadians, are us. They're not super different beings and godlike. They're us from the future. We have the ability to transmute ourselves to go through walls and things for a short period of time. We always did. You'll hear about great masters that did it and things like that. The light, we can shine a light through our third eye. The Hopi people did it when they lived underground. There's a lot of things that this bodies could use. I mean, in Atlantis, we had every ability, and we didn't have to play games like we do now. But when the aliens came down and started teaching the human race, they taught them sacrifice. Nice word. They taught them about killing. They taught mankind really horrible things. Now, it was absorbed. Now, the gladiator times and all those kind of things always existed. Man loves to see killing, murder, and abuse. Always did after Atlantis went down. They didn't rearrange our DNA. They gave us a programmed idea that the mind was a computer and it absorbed it. The same as when they abduct a person today, they give them a programmed idea and they accept it. I'm not going to say all the names of the people, but there's so many different people that are really big and high in the UFO world. Oh, I had an experience and I saw this and I was shown that. Shown that? All right. That means an alien had you in his little room and he projected this vision inside your head. How do you know what it was? Real, not, past, present, future? How do you know it's going to happen? They know things that are going to happen, so they can give you some thoughts about it, but they don't know how you're going to react to what they give you. So this isn't of God. Has nothing to do with God's teachings. See, people lost spirituality, and people want to use the word and say that they're spiritual. The Mayans were never spiritual. They killed and sacrificed people. The Egyptians listened to another alien race. Oh, they're so spiritual. No, they weren't. They were never spiritual. I'm bringing you up to par. They were never spiritual. If you follow the teachings that these aliens gave them about reincarnation, it's all wrong. Every aspect of their idea to preserve the body, how you can preserve the body to make it so that we can come back in the next lifetime, or any of those ideas were all wrong. Why is that? Give me one split second. Let me let this little guy out. Come on, here we go. Go on, get up, get up. Sorry about that. All right. So when they found these false gods, which they call, they weren't given the word deities. They were called gods. They put the plural word in a different word. It's not actually said that way, but I'm bad with the English language, never mind another language. All right. So they were teaching these people, meaning the Egyptians, ridiculous ways to immortalize the body. Watch some of the ancient alien shows or ancient history and all that. They're all twisted stories, but they found a place where there's like 140 skeletons where they were preparing them to be reincarnated. They broke the jaw off, they cut the skull out, took the brain out. Would you think that would be the kind of body you'd want to reincarnate back into? Then making a mummy and put him in a thing like that? See, they didn't know, and they didn't give him the right knowledge. And I'll even go further than that. Einstein was working with an alien. So I hate to tell you that, and I'm sure you don't know it or not, but he was given false information as well. He said we can't go back and forward in time, which we can. He said we can't go faster than the speed of light, which we can. He described an object and said nothing could ever be bigger than that, which we just found maybe 10, 15 years ago, the biggest object in the multiverse. All right. So there's a lot of things he came up with and said. Plus, he was stealing ideas from other countries. Now, when we moved to Tesla, he worked with aliens as well. It's in his personal notes. But he brought inventions to this planet that are going to help destroy it. He brought out 50 dangerous weapons to this planet. Oh, the Tesla car. And, well, I listened to Tesla yesterday for an hour and a half. And he said, by next year, the car's already there, prepared, and they're using it now to drive completely without a person. They said it'll be 200 to 300% more efficient than a person driving the car. Do you understand that? Do you have a clue what that means? And he says if a person actually tries to get involved with the way it drives, it'll probably reduce and take away from what it can do. So he's saying mankind's going to be useless to drive a car. And he's saying it's going to be useless to go out and try to get a car and drive it. But you know, a child looks forward to driving a car. I mean, the things that we treasure are being taken away. And now when you have taxis that are going to be coming up with nobody in them, at least you don't have to worry about being raped and stuff like that in a taxi cab and things like that. But who knows? The computer freaks out and takes you to another world. But we're moving forward too fast, and we're not aware enough to be there. When technology and robots start taking over the world, what do they need people for? The millionaires are going to be paying for all this. So, yeah, they have underground cities, and they're going to have all these top things. Yeah, they'll be okay. But the middle class and poor people like us are not going to be okay. And we're talking about a short period of time. Now, Elon Musk told the Army, told the Air Force, and told the Navy, your equipment's useless. Our drones are better than any jet that you have. So eliminate people. Yeah, well, people shouldn't be killing other people in the first place, but let's eliminate the idea of people doing that. We'll have a machine do it for us. It's like in the court of law, if you told a person to kill somebody and they do, you're still on the charges of doing it. If you make a robot that kills people, you're still responsible for that. But mankind's ignorance of God, of what it is, what it was, what it really is so twisted among the bull stories and all the stories about these people in the UFO world, saying this, saying that. Nobody talks about God, or you're one with God, or you're like God. Really, nobody on this planet. God only makes things happen because it's already destructive. There's no such thing as like the good and bad, like the Marines say, kill them all and let God sort it out. Well, that's what God does. The good ones will go where they're supposed to. The rest will come back here in time. So when we talk about what do you want a God to be, I do this, and I do it in a lot of workshops I read so often. Get out a paper and pencil. On one side, write, well, God is all these things, and then God isn't all these things. You can't put God is everything. Put everything that God is. A tree, a house, a car, a bat, whatever you want. And I'm going to tell you what you put on the other side. Well, I don't know what God isn't. Hateful. How do you know that? How do you know that? You think when God says, okay, let's flood the planet, it was a happy, pleasant thing? That God really wanted to destroy all those things? But he knew if he didn't, they would eventually destroy everything. God took a long time to make humans do what we are. I mean, dinosaurs and the roach. The roach is one of the oldest creatures on this planet. All these little things that moved. And he said, well, that's not my idea of something that's perfection. Jesus said we're perfect. Oh, nobody's perfect. Well, we could be, but we're not. The body is perfect, but mankind abused it so that it can't be. The lymphocytes in the body will destroy any problem inside the body. It's an army. Picture 1 million people in your body fighting everything that comes into it. You bring 10 million people in to fight them. Guess who's going to win? And you get sick. And you wonder why. But there's a whole other bunch of things that go on around that as well. But let's go deeper into more gods. when we talk about the Aztecs and the Mayans, their God, let's talk about more present time. I'm going to bypass Jesus, going back to the colonial days and things like that. And religion became important. Catholic religion was probably the most powerful. The Knights of Templar were being killed and pretty much killed out. Mary Magdalene went to the Knights of Templar in her end times with her daughter. But nobody wants to hear that. But here's the thing. Christianity created the idea of this God that they created, and it's in their idea of their image of what they believe they are. Spiritual loving beings? Really? On this planet? You care about every soul that's dying? You care about every child and all that? I gave you the number. Believe that? Pull it up. Check it out. 150,000 people die daily, but it's said 30,000 of them are children under 5. And then here's the thing. Oh, well, we're going to heaven? Think about the number that's coming back on a daily basis. 300,000 come back into this world daily. So there's more souls coming into this reality than leaving. So that should tell you something, how many people are going to heaven and staying there. You know, you have 10 people. They all die, they go to heaven and stay there. Nobody's here. Well, you have 100 people, 10 of them are good, stay there, and then, 90 people come back here and start over. That's how we got overpopulated and keep overpopulated. But you want the lies. You're a good person. You're a spiritual, compassionate, loving being. Really? When you go to sleep at night, do you think about every child that's somewhere being abused and tortured and every other word? Well, it's not me to look at. It's their karma. Karma is this world. We all come into this karma when we first come down into this realm. You could have been an alien before you came here, but when you come to this, aliens are coming into this reality now, reincarnating. Because they want to experience compassion, love, and all those things that they see we have, that they don't. But they're not mass killers like we are. So it gets abused and twisted. So let's go back to the colonial time. They're following biggest religion, Christianity, was the Catholic religion. And when they created the popes, I mean, they had popes all along the way since Paul, Peter, which one? I'm not sure. Sorry, Peter, Paul, whatever. The one we have now, the Pope, is very evil. He's rewriting the 10 Commandments. He said Adam and Eve was a fake story, which it was. But he also says hell doesn't exist. No, sure it does. You're living in it. And here's the definition. Hell, you see horrible, feel horrible things. Doesn't that sound like Earth? If I cut your hand off, cut your leg off, poke your eyes out, you're in hell. You don't do that on the astral plane. And when you leave the astral plane, you don't do it in the higher worlds at all. Those things don't exist there. You don't have a solid body, so obviously you can't cut it up or do anything to it. So all the delusional ideas you have are lies. And what do the average family do? Teach their children lies from the time they're able to understand a word till they're what? Anywhere between 6 and 10, sometimes even later. Santa Claus is real, the Easter Bunny is real, Batman, Superman, a Green Hornet, Tooth Fairy, all these things. Oh, they put the Boogie Monster in there as well. Oh, you're old enough to understand that they're all fake except God. Why? How's a child understand God is not real? All these other things I believe were real aren't, and God is. How do you prove to a child God is real? You don't. Because you already deprogrammed him. You weren't teaching him about energy, weren't teaching him about the light. Death is the most important thing because that's when you're going to let go of this reality, if you're an aware being. Now, when people say they follow God, what about God do you follow? What about God that you can say you relate to that's you? I'm compassionate. And what's that mean? I'm loving. Love is the most pathetic word on this planet right now. To say we love each other. What do you love about people in India, Africa, China? Oh, well, you can say whatever you want. What does your saying you're sending them unconditional love. Do for them. Anything? You think all the starving children feel that when you say it? The children that are being abused. I can play a song right now. It would make you cry if you had any kind of emotional body at all. It's about a young girl who her father steps in the room every night, sexually abusing her, and she's asking for help. All right. It's a true story. It was written by the girl that was being abused, the song. And it's called Cindy's Song. I mean, I play it on my show a lot. I'm still trying to get real permission to make that part of my theme. But here's the thing. Men are evil. I mean, the biggest part of us. And when you look up the definition of Lucifer, which they blame is here, it's what we are, the good and bad side of our thinking. Men in general are a lot worse than women. I mean, men are more like them. Sexually, changing their sex to be like them as well. But the idea is there. Perverted, twisted. Something you need to think about. When you die, you go to the astral plane. You stay there between 5 and 10 years max, and then you usually reincarnate. Come back into this world, not knowing a thing, and starting all over in life. It's not a good thing. Some children now, because they didn't have so much karma when they died, have to come back and work out some karma, but they're aware of their last life at least, knowing that they were here already. And that can already give them a lot of steps forward to move forward. Because now they know when they died, it's not real. When all these things, it becomes an incredibly gifted, good thing for a child. And it's becoming more popular among children because they're becoming more aware. And a lot of times, parents don't care what children think or do anymore. And it allows them to grow within their own little space. Seeing angels, seeing demons, seeing whatever. And parents don't even control that. They'll let demons go in a room and they don't know it. When a child puts on a computer game where they're killing people, what do you think's going into that child? There's all these things. What God do they worship? What God is your mother, father following? The compassionate, loving God? Do what you want and I'll forgive you? God loves everybody because it has to? God loves certain souls. But not all. You don't deserve it. Why do you think you deserve anything? God's love? Because you say, I'm a loving person? Are you married? You have children? Do you respect them? Do you teach them anything about God? Not religion. Religion is not God. Religion is a program. All religions are a program. The Hindu people, the Indian people, the tribal people. Did you ever study voodoo or Santeria? They're worshiping the demons. Now, Satan is here. Satan's on this planet, nowhere else. Lucifer's not here for the people that think he is. It is not. He was one of the highest angels, and he was the bringer of light, and he still is. The light to the next world when you go through the astral plane. Satan's creating his army more and more powerful every single day. I mean, the story that Jesus is going to come back and destroy Lucifer is the most ridiculous story you can create. Lucifer is a high angel. First off, Jesus was a man who attained awareness. He attained his higher bodies. Coming back here to kill something? Are people mentally disturbed? To kill something. Jesus doesn't promote killing in any aspect. He didn't allow his disciples to kill the people that were going to kill him. No, killing's not a part of a spiritual reality. When Jesus taught about turning the cheek, it was turning your cheek against evil when it hit you, not trying to kill it. That's why you couldn't go to war. I mean, there's one story about one guy who believed he couldn't carry a gun. He became one of the most powerful saving people in the army, risking his life, and he saved I don't know how many people, more than anybody else has ever, individually, by himself, on the battlefield, carrying them back, going back out on the battlefield, taking them back. It's a true story. You should watch it. But they persecuted him every which way because he wouldn't carry a gun. The same as today. You got to have a gun in case somebody comes in your house, you shoot them. You kill somebody, no matter what the reason is, it's karma. Accidental is different. If you have a reason and you have an awareness and you know killing's not right and you kill somebody, guess what? You're in trouble. I mean, it'd be nice to carry a machine gun, walk the streets, and becomes you just blast them away like you do when you play a computer game. What do you think children learn? What do you think there's children going to schools and shooting people up? I felt like it. Why? Now, I can go into a lot of the perversions, things that are happening to children. When demons come in, wrong word, aliens come into a child. They're not aware of their sexual feelings and emotions and all that. There was a special on it. Children 5 years old go to a store and they start masturbating in the middle of the floor. 5 years old. They don't even know what it is, what they're doing. Children like 6 going into bedrooms, taking out a knife and stabbing their baby brother or sister, stabbing their cat, throwing a cat and stepping on them, jumping on them. All these little things. Souls that are coming in are totally unaware of feelings and emotions. And now they're in a space where they can do it. It's perverted and twisted. I hope you're getting something out of this. You might not be. That's your choice. If you're even still here, people have a hard time staying on, listening to things that doesn't feel right, feels too hard, too scary, too bad. Oh, it sounds too evil. Evil is people that don't believe in God and know what it is. Assuming God is what you're told God is evil. Thinking God is this ball of light. I love yous all. I forgive yous all. For what? Destroying his reality that he created for us? Mankind has washed away God's truth, and mankind has washed away Jesus' truth. Jesus was the only soul capable of teaching about a real God. That's what he was teaching the disciples. That's what he spent time teaching them. You don't sit there teaching a person how to love day after day after day. You don't sit there teaching a person how I'm compassionate, be compassionate. How do you teach compassion? You don't. You are or you aren't. You're a loving person, or not. But to teach it, you don't teach that. You have to feel it. It's an emotion. And then when it goes beyond that, it becomes God. But these gods that people have called gods, the Egyptians, when they work with their gods and built in these pyramids and everything, has nothing to do with saving mankind. Or we're going to learn to communicate. Communicate to who? We can't communicate to each other on this planet. We have Russia, China, Germany, France, Italy, all these countries, United States, and we can't communicate with each other in a positive, good way. Iran, Iraq. Basically, China and Russia are enemies, but it's like a chess game. They use those as the pawns to kill. While a president that hates another president should just kill each other. Why take all the people down in their country? But they don't do that. People with power, people with money, people with ego do not do that. They'll let every single soul in front of them die before they get killed. Putin's making himself president probably until he dies. Putin was friends with Trump. Putin told Trump what he wanted him to do. He wanted Trump to come out and tell the truth about aliens. He wanted Trump to come out and tell the truth about 9/11. Well, he meets with him, and guess what? Trump comes out with the space army. A week later, he goes, we're going to land on Mars. How did he know that? How does he know that? Why would he assume that? The technology that's released right now is nowhere close to going to Mars and hanging out there. So the lies, the stories, the false truth that you're going to be fed day after day, if you don't sit back and look at it, you're never going to learn the truth. If you believe any story you hear outside of yourself, you're going to be pulled into everybody else's world. This is a matrix, and it's really hard to get out of it. If you listen to one other person in the matrix, you'll stay in it. Believe in one thing they say. So we went to Mars. So we went to Venus. So what? Venus people are here. So what? Are they helping you understand God? Are they helping you understand anything? Be compassionate. Tell the world to love each other. We'll be better off. But how many people are going to understand what that actually means? In religion, well, I got to do these things. Again, religion is not spiritual. And spiritual, the word that people use, is not spiritual either. I ask every person I know, what's spiritual mean? Oh, well, it means a lot of things. I said, like what? What does spiritual mean? If it doesn't mean connecting to understanding what God really is, it's nothing. Because everything else you do is in vain. And Jesus said it many things. It's not what you put in your body, it's what comes out of it. He said, give your life to God, you'll have eternal life. If you don't, you'll lose it. What does that mean, people? What's giving your life to God mean? Well, I pray to God every Sunday? Really? People need to wake up. Your time's running out. Aliens are coming here. You're going to be reprogrammed at every level. All these rich people, Elon Musk, Gates, are really creating serious problems for the human race. That doesn't matter. Not if you know where you're going. Well, I'm going to heaven. And what are you going to do when you get there? Do you have a clue? Did you see what you're going to do? All these people that had death experience have no clue what they're doing when they get there either. Why is that? Because it's involved and it's separated from soul. So soul is becoming aware, but the mind isn't. Soul uses certain times to get through to the mind. Like right before you go into dream state, it can actually work through it. And you can experience soul. Do certain meditations, not all meditations, but you can get into the aspect of being aware as soul, not the mind. But it's hard to keep mind from not interfering with what wisdom, what knowledge, and what awareness you get when you do get it. Because mind comes back to, well, oh no, we have to do this, so we're allowed to do that, and blah, blah, blah. So I hope this is getting through to somebody out there, or everybody that's listening. But you might not want the truth. You're like, my religion's so nice to me. Really nice to you? Do they tell you where you're going to go when you die? There's one religion that does. They tell you what your past life was and things like that. But is that enough? And how do you know it's real until you experience it? Being out of the body is the most important thing you need to understand and experience in this lifetime. Before you die. Because when you're dying, the mind and soul are separating. Soul's here, mind's here. The programs are here. Soul can take the residue of that. And I just want to say that real fast. There's two aspects of that. Lust, greed, anger, vanity, and attachment. Attachment, and this is for male or female. The attachment is to reality, meaning their children, their family. All right. If you're attached to that, you're not going to go further. When Jesus told his disciples to leave his family, that's what he was saying to them. Leave your families. But people don't understand that either. Well, the last thing, okay, are you ready to move forward? Are you ready to experience the truth? Do you want to know the truth? If you experience the truth ever, it won't matter if you die tomorrow. When Moses marched his people around in circles, the ones that attained awareness went to the promised land that they felt was right for them, which was in the higher world, not here. All right? So, in the promised land, when the people that got there that killed people, guess what? They're never going to see the promised land for another bunch of reincarnations. Believe what you want. Buddha taught some teachings that were really important about reincarnation and karma. Two important words. The bliss state is not an important word. You can attain that, but it's going into a relaxation period where soul can relax. But you stay there too long, you forget who you are. And then there's no desire to do anything. Because you're not even aware of being anything other than the sound or the light or both. Well, that's everything. No, it's not. The way light and sound works, it comes from God itself, goes to every level. There's 12 planes it goes down through. The soul plane, where it manifests into the body, and then it filters from the mental and etheric planes down to the astral plane, down to this realm. This is the weakest it is in this reality. So, and the bliss state is on top of it's in the astral plane. It's like a step forward. It's like going from kindergarten to first grade. It's not like going to college. And schooling has nothing to do with spiritualism or truth or God either. Which is sad. Nobody teaches anything about God. Why is that? Nobody. Oh, I'm going to teach ascension. Ascension to what? What aliens told you? Really? Unaware beings are going to tell you how to find God? Well, I didn't know how far I was going to go. I hope you got something out of this. My email address is hawksblood1@aol.com. Sure, I know people hate me, people love me, people don't care. Whatever the story is. When I talk about Lucifer, certain people hate me. When I talk about Satan, more people hate me. Well, Satan's not good. I'm not saying it was or is. I'm saying Lucifer is not the demon and the entity that everybody has to fight. At the end times, when you read Revelations, if you believe in the Bible at all, or claim you're spiritual in that realm, read what happens in Revelations. And read who Michael was. What was the purpose of Michael? Michael was supposed to be the powerful angel that thrown out of the higher worlds to come down and destroy Satan, which he didn't do. Ask yourself why. And all these people channeling Gabriel, Michael, talking to Gabriel, talking to Michael. Really, there's 9 angels in the Bible. In Revelation, it talks about hundreds and hundreds of angels, but it doesn't name them. But here, in this reality, they all have the same name except Metatron, which is a real funny name for an angel, considering it sounds like a futuristic angel, which it could be. I never worked with Metatron. I heard another person deal with Alphatron. So, you can create names for gods or angels, whatever you want. But again, if you're working with an angel, what are they teaching you? What do you think they're here to teach you if you're working with an angel? How to get a new job, how not to get involved, how to step back from a fight. So what? If you stay aware and don't let it pull you into the environment that would mean killing somebody or something like that, you're aware. You don't need somebody else to tell you that. But if you think killing somebody, abusing somebody, and all those things is going to make things right, think you can get forgiven, read Revelations. Well, I don't believe the Bible. It's a bunch of hogwash. Well, go read the Sumerian tablets, the Emerald tablets, the Urantia, and listen to about aliens and how good they are. Really? Think about it. The whole story that Zechariah Sitchin brought out about the Anunnaki. People believe that story. They put their life into it and totally believe it. Well, the Anunnaki, God, and Enki, and Anu, and Anil, and whatever the names are, were God, and the God of Adam and Abraham, and all these stories. You can hear who's God, who's this, who's that. But funny, they never taught anything spiritual. Claiming to be God. Did you ever see God come down here and say, I'm God? Why doesn't it? Because God doesn't take credit for anything. Not in this reality. This is hell. It doesn't come into this reality. If God itself came into this world, the world would explode. If you think you retain God's light, you would be able to shine it around the planet. You would be able to do a lot of things, whether they were right or wrong, until they became wrong, and then you'd have to deal with paying for it, like all the angels did. So you could take your poison, you could take your elixir, whatever you need in your life to be happy or think you're happy. But when it comes to the end times and you're dying and you're moving on and this body's just about dead and you're stepping out of it, what do you think happens? Who do you think's going to meet you? Not God. God's not going to come down to hell to crush all the people coming out of hell. That's what deities are for. The 3 gods, Satnam, Jehovah, and Lucifer, all judge the souls that go past it. Jehovah's a jealous God. Lucifer's egotistical. They each got their flaws, and that's why they're only on top of the astral plane. Now, I'll say a name. The 5th plane, soul goes into the astral body, the mental body, etheric body, and then it goes into the soul body. But when it's doing that, the soul body is the last body it can take. And when it lets go of that, I can't even explain that to you. You have to experience the astral plane. You have to experience the mental plane first before I can take you into this higher level. Soul never stops growing and never gets next to God. Never. I mean, when Jesus said, I'll be on the right side and you can sit on the right side and sup with my Father, he didn't say you become that, did he? Jesus never said anything wrong. And if people understood what he was saying, they might be a little more aware today. Jesus didn't come to create a religion. Jesus is not a religion. Christianity is. Jesus was an aware being with the aware knowledge of how to get closer and back to God. Doesn't make him anything other than a spiritual aware being, which he said he was. He never said he was anything other than that. People want to attack that. Fine. And now people want to make Jesus an alien because they want to believe in aliens more than they want to believe in God. That's your choice. Live your life. Live what's going to happen to the world in the next 10, 20 years. Just imagine what your children will be going through in that time frame. Sure, there'll be a few people needed to fix robots and computers. But once they get computers fixing computers, do they need you again? What for? Well, when that machine breaks down, well, another computer machine will come and fix it. So think about why they're creating them together. Think how sick the mankind has become. It's legal in Japan now, and they're making half human, half animal creatures. They're raising body parts in animals and stuff, all those kind of things. It's legal now and accepted there. We have been doing it. I'm not saying we had an island off of Long Island where they were doing that. So where do you think we're going? Not spiritual. The word really spiritual. We're going egotistical. We're going mind programmed. We're becoming ignorant. We're becoming void of a true spiritual awareness. Until you realize that you're in hell, why do you want to leave? It's like saying, I put you in a box and tell you it's heaven, and you believe it's heaven, you'll stay there. Why do I want to leave? This is heaven. If you don't know better, you don't know how to get out of it. So you stay here because you're accountable to what you do here. And until you realize everything you create is what's going to hold you here. I told you, lust, greed, anger, vanity, and attachment, what holds people here. Men have I have a different scenario for men. Sex, drugs, cheap thrills, sports, and then sex. I mean, it's the same aspects of some of those other words. But men need sports. Men need sex. They need cheap thrills, jumping off a mountain, climbing a mountain, maybe you'll die. All these little things that give them satisfaction has nothing to do with God. Nothing. None of those things have anything to do with a God. Why is that? Because mankind gave up on God. They should give up on themselves and try to start over. And that's why the world has to be destroyed greatly. And that's why it has been. But sadly, well, if the aliens reincarnate fast enough into this reality, we'll have a lot more of them here growing. And maybe somewhere along the line, they'll realize robots not the answer to go. You could do everything with in Atlantis. We didn't need anything, any kind of robots or things. And we could have moved forward from there. But nobody could even have the imagination how much further we could have moved forward from there. So I will tell you this. After you get to the God world, the soul plane, being God realized, you don't become God. God allows you to step out and create. What do you want to create? God's not going to let some idiot up there creating mass murders and like Muslim religion, create a whole bunch of super virgins up there that are super whatever, all those kind of sick, perverted ideas. Really? Think about a real God. What would God do? What would God say? What would God feel? And it does. It has those aspects. But think of this. Every aspect that all the trillions of universes, aliens, and everything else go through daily feed into God's awareness. What's wrong? What's right? What was wrong with reality? What was right about reality? What was right about a being? What was wrong about a being? So after it's destroyed, God might put a new race here. When the few that have the awareness, maybe they want to reincarnate. God wouldn't force a soul to come back here. but it'll take some of the souls that are ready to move forward. So there's a lot of things that go on, a lot of things happening. And are you ready to face the truth? No. You want to live in your dream. You know it. You're powerful. You're this and that. No angels here. You don't see angels walking around the street anywhere, do you? You don't see deities walking around the street anywhere, do you? So anybody that thinks they have a power over anybody on this planet is delusional. The only way you get it is when they give it over. I'm not talking about the army coming in your house with machine guns and saying, bend over and we're going to blow your brains out. No. I'm talking about spiritual power, spiritual energy, healing power. We have our programmed ideas, and that's what we have to heal. We have to heal them. Nobody else can. All right, I went on. I hope you got something out of it. Again, the truth's in there, and it's out there. You want to believe who's powerful, who's not. Somebody saying they can control or tell you what's happening. They control vortexes and dimensions. All these UFO people claiming all these different things. Well, I can call ships down. Call it down. Bring one. I had somebody that said they were going to bring the aliens to the White House. Never did. Told me for years they were going to do it. And I believed it. Never happened. Here's the thing. 1852, there was a fleet of ships over the White House. And everybody saw it. So it wasn't like it was a new thing ever. It's just a matter how much attention we want to give it, what we want to give credit to it, and what we're going to accept from it. So with that, enjoy your day, enjoy your night. Look for the truth. It's inside you if you try to find it. And it's not about here. This is hell. It will be that for a very long time. A higher dimension, higher reality is not where you want to go either. You want to become aware and go through the astral plane. Anything else is dealing with this physical world and its realities and the astral plane and its realities. The Akashic records, all those words come off the astral plane. All right. I'm going to be doing a lot more shows, a lot more teaching. I'm going to teach you the truth. I'm going to try to break down the lies that you want to come into a class with and work with things that are going to help you in a class. Protection. Spiritual protection. Do you know what that means? Probably not. What you protect your children from. How to keep your children safe spiritually. Give them another game to play. Let him stay in his room for 10 hours, whatever. And now that all these children are staying home, nothing to do. I mean, some of them are playing school on a computer, but they're absorbing the energy from the computer while they do that. And as certain things get more empowered into the computer, into the TV, into your cell phone, you're going to lose more of who and what you are, and you're going to become sick. All right. You heard it here. Tommy Hawksblood. Please email me for my books, for anything. I give my first 2 books away for free. Hopefully I'll try to do that with my last book. When Truth is Called Crazy, I put out Truth Beyond the Illusion, How to See God, and my most important book, The True Teachings of Jesus from God Realization. Not man's ego, not mind's ego, Jesus himself. All right, my life's on the line. I put it that number 1 in my life now, God and what Jesus taught. So with that, condemn me if you want, but only God can do that. Peace, love, compassion. Till next time.